Hello. Welcome everybody to the after show. Getting back in the saddle, getting back into debate. It felt really good to be back in the ring, especially as some of it was incredibly funny. And I'm sorry, so sorry. I just cannot help but laugh at some of the arguments coming out. It's so good to see you all here. I'm glad you can join me, and I have some wonderful people in the back who I will introduce. And yeah, we can start talking about fact checking and verifying all of this stuff. And what I thought of it, what you thought of me, what I thought of TRock, what TRock thought of himself, what Beamsy thought of everybody in the world. And speaking of which, hello Beamsy, hello Jorge, and hello Dr. Dino, my first people. Look, you're saying that some sort of creationists want to come in. They're very welcome. I mean, you know that I run a very respectful kind of room. I do like to run that. But everybody's welcome, sure. How are you all doing?
Howdy.
I'm all right.
Two people aren't talking to it. You're all right. Okay.
I did have one critique of you in this debate.
Please, yeah. Let me get my don't care pad out. Yep. All right. Let me take this. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Of course I do. No, I do. I do care if I've gotten something wrong. So please do tell me if I have gotten something wrong.
All right. Well, big thing I noticed was just you said fossils aren't found on the tops of mountains. Or like ocean fossils aren't.
Not all mountains.
But not all mountains, true, but they are found on some mountains. The way you said it sounded like it was a definitive. There are no ocean fossils on the tops of mountains.
That is not what I meant. I guess what I meant was because we don't find fossils on some mountaintops, it means that not all mountaintops were covered in water, right? At some point, because if they were, we would have found fossils on those mountaintops as well. So that's how I meant it, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess that was just how it came across to me.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. No, that's okay. That's all right. I hope I didn't misrepresent the geology too much. I did try and sort of come out with everything I could remember. And I want to thank you guys for that as well, because that actually came in handy. To be honest with you, it's weird that let's start at the start. Why the moon? What did the moon have to do with anything? I don't understand. If someone could let me understand that.
That's more of an astrology thing.
Mentioned, honestly.
Yeah, that's more along the lines of astrology than anything else.
What all was
yeah, that's true. He was saying that the theory is sort of with Thea that hit. Well, he said the moon crashed into the Earth at first, or at least that's what I thought he was said. But you know, it was Thea that crashed into the Earth and formed the moon. I don't know how that was supposed to be in relationship to anything else. I think he was trying to say if Thea crashed into the Earth, then what happened to all the water on the Earth? And I was pointing out that there wasn't water at that stage.
And it's better to describe it as a proto-Earth because it's when it was actually in a full molten state.
Right, that's what I said. Like it was it was a molten ball. Like I don't know why water would be on there. And he sort of said, well, it might have been in the atmosphere or and it's like, well, there wasn't an atmosphere.
Well, there would have been a ball of gases surrounding the Earth.
Yes.
Yeah. I think my take on it is TRock doesn't know the opposition's opinion, so he just strawmans everything and then tries to argue that. That's all I heard over and over again is TRock not getting it and then still trying to argue against it.
I don't know if he deliberately does it or whether he just mistakes the science, because the way he was explaining with his little MS Paint thing, the way that
stupid arrows, yeah.
That was not at all what the science actually says about convection currents, C4 spreading, and the slab pull force, right? And I mean, it even explained the tablecloth over it. For some reason, he thought the continents and mountains were causing that force, and that's why I went to potential energy. because technically there's potential energy in everything that's at rest, right? So I've got potential energy sitting here. It's the downwards acceleration of gravity, but that has nothing to do with what he was trying to explain it did. So yeah, I don't know.
Just speaking of misrepresenting science, I mean, anytime he tried to quote anything scientific, he got it all completely ass backwards.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of I felt like a lot of it was just trying to attack the science, conventional science, rather than actually give scientific explanations for the flood. You can attack geology all you want. It's not going to get you to a flood. I don't know. It was very weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I'll go ahead, Beamsy.
Oh no, you started first, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say he shot it was so scattershot in his approach, and as you said, he never kind of came back around to a thesis statement outside of not getting it and then pressing his not getting it. I mean, quoting the encyclopedia is quite a take, I just thought that was never seen encyclopedia quoted in a scientific argument before.
Most encyclopedias are about 5 or 10 years behind, so that's why they're not really used that often.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Where did the water come from on an ancient Earth? Well, hydrogen's like the most common element in the universe, I believe. Is that right, Beamsy? You're sort of hydrogen. It's insanely common.
Yeah, your three most commons: hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. They're the most common elements.
Yeah.
So, obviously, while the Earth's molten, there can't be water there, but it doesn't mean that compound doesn't form. And they think that some of the particles for it was delivered by comets that came by. So there is a bit of disagreement about that, but nobody's saying that there was liquid water on a primordial sort of, molten Earth. That's not what people are saying.
I mean, like, the big thing is, like, there's tons of, well, I'm not going to say almost all, but tons of minerals that incorporate both hydrogen and oxygen. There's plenty that are combustible. Anytime you burn something that has hydrogen and oxygen, they're going to combine to form water vapor. Especially if the Earth's molten, like, you're going to have all kinds of volcanic fumes, which have a ton of water vapor in them.
Yeah, I don't think it's true to say there's massive underground oceans living proof. I get TRock sort of said that there was water in olivine, but I don't think there's enough to even cover the Earth once, much less multiple times. It's claimed.
He said olivine had water in it?
I
Does
believe
olivine
so.
have water?
Like, there's no hydrogen in olivine.
I agree.
Oh, y'all talking about the ringwoodite?
Yeah, I hope he's talking ringwoodite and not olivine, because that's real bad if he said olivine.
He said both. He said both of them in the debate.
Ringwoodite's
no
a classic,
hydrogen.
but olivine don't even have hydrogen in it.
I thought he did. Mind you, I felt like I was being gaslit halfway through. He said, "Oh, I didn't say this and I didn't say that," and I could have sworn that he said things that I was alluding to. So I got very confused halfway through.
All right.
I will upload the debate, Joel. If you do want to watch it before that, it's on Standing for Truths, mate. If you don't want to give SFT a view, which I completely understand, actually, I'll start the process now, and I'll get it uploaded as soon as I can. Because sometimes I don't even want to watch Standing for Truth, quite frankly.
Beamsy and Bree,
Oh.
I saw you two arguing with plenty of people in the chat.
Nice.
Thank
you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. It was just I didn't have the chat up because usually it gets nasty in there. It really does. Like
they're not fans of you at all. Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
Some TRock simps for sure. That Sandy C or whatever the name was. Ooh.
Look, I know where I am. I'm sort of in the den of lambs or whatever. So that's fine. They're gonna do that. That's fine.
I was mostly just messing with Bubble, but that's all I was doing.
Bubbles. He sent in a question that was like, monkeys and bees surfboarding, and you know you've done it like a terrible question when neither side wants to touch it. Just no, I'm not talking about
That's actually the question that I got into it with him about, because he's like talking about how the continents wouldn't have been together or something. It's like, you don't get how that works, I guess. I was wondering if Bubble was going to pop up in here.
That said, Bubbles did agree to a debate with me, so we'll see if and how that goes.
Really? On what?
So, my challenge for him was to select any creature, any living or extinct creature, and I would give evidence for how it evolved and what it evolved from and how we know that. And
you know what he's going to pick?
My challenge to him was going to be to try and debunk that.
You know what he's going to pick?
No, dogs.
No, I said no dogs.
Not dogs. Dalmatians specifically, for some reason.
I said not that. I wanted something more interesting. So he chose domesticated cows, which I can work with. There's lots of ungulate history.
Oh, Bovidae.
Yeah,
not Bovidae in general, just domesticated cows. Which, to be fair, I don't know which breed, but oh well.
Well, the problem with using just domesticated, Bovidae doesn't cover all domesticated cows, so I would stick to Bovidae.
They're not all in Bovidae?
No.
No, there's the Indian cows are in. Hold on.
Oh,
yeah, those ones
with
the humps.
They were.
They can breed together though. They're both derived from Aurochs, but just at different points.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. That was the ancestor.
I thought Bovidae was just a subset of Artiodactyls.
So we got
domesticated cattle were in that.
We got Bos Indicus, Bos Taurus Indicus, depending on where you want to draw the line. So Bovidae is going to cover all cattle, sheep, goats.
Camels. Yeah.
No, not camels, but wildebeest.
I guess I'll talk with him again, try and get him to settle on a specific breed.
I would go with
just to be specific.
Yeah, Bovidae is the family, which is the level that they generally draw that out. But you have in Bovidae, you have all the sheep, all the goats, all the antelope, I think there's their
all the ruminids.
Yeah, basically, except for cervids. Cervids are the out group. There's Cervidae and Bovidae. Those are the two big groups, and then Giraffidae is kind of in there too. But they're closer to Bovidae than they are to Cervidae. Am I losing you guys? I'm sorry. I keep using Cervidae are deer. Bovidae, bovids, and ruminants.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Bree, but you know that.
Okay,
it's just
I'll talk with him, get him to choose a specific breed. But like I said, just watch him pick heifers since they're the most. Is heifer just?
Can you keep him? Just keep him embossed. I think that's what you were meaning. They're not all embossed, right?
I was thinking of a specific. It would be Bos Taurus, the domesticated cow.
Yeah, try Bovini.
What is it? There's a black and white cow that's commonly bred where I live.
Are you talking about just the black and white Fresno?
Maybe.
So there are there's three species of domestic cattle. There's
Holstein Friesians.
There's Taurus, Indicus, and Africanus. Those are the three species of domestic cattle under Bos, descendant from Aurochs. Descendant from the Asian Auroch and then the Indian Auroch, both extinct though.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I wish I could see an Auroch. They sound awesome.
You can still see a gar or like a bantig. They're a lot like.
I have seen those.
Yeah, they have those. They have a gar at the zoo here. They used to. But yeah, I think you should have a
cow. Was a Fresno, wasn't it? Like the biggest cow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So If you could get them to go with bison, though, that's a chrono species. Like we literally have a robust enough fossil record in some of the caches that you can actually see the evolution from boss Lantiforms is the current, right? Let me see. I don't want to speak out my okay, yeah. So bison from bison antiquus and bison latifrons, which is the longhorn bison. So you can actually see those transitions. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like chrono species, right? Megalodon's another chrono species that I just love. In the Chesapeake Bay, there's just so thick a layer of shark teeth down there that you can actually trace the evolution of Megalodon from Odotus Macarion to Odotus Megalodon.
Okay, so this is the largest cow in Australia, called Knickers.
Whoa!
Look at the size of that thing.
I've seen that picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was
That's
Photoshopped,
insane.
though.
No, that's a real cow. It's insane.
And it just thinks it's part of that normal herd, huh?
Yeah, it weighs 1,500 pounds. That's the normal weight. So, and 4 foot 8 inches tall. This is 6'4" tall, and weighs in at 1.4 tons.
Jesus, does it have some weird mutation or?
I don't know, but that is bigger than that man. Right? That is bigger than me. That's insane.
Like giantism, maybe?
I don't know.
It was selectively bred.
Possibly, yeah, I would say so. Yeah. But that isn't Photoshop. That is a real cow. It's crazy. What are they feeding us in Australia? It's crazy.
But bringing it back to the geology, if we actually look at all the aquifers that is all through the globe that we've actually mapped, it only comes up to about 22 quintillion liters of water.
How much would we need?
Somewhere in the measurement of 2 or 3 sextillion.
Yeah. So we can tell what's water underneath by seismic measurements, right?
Mostly by drilling.
Right.
Yeah,
a seismic measurement will tell you where there's a gap. It won't tell you what's in it usually.
Not
necessarily.
necessarily.
It can help you to find boundary layers.
Yeah, that's what you're actually looking for. We were actually looking for the aquifers, which is defined by, it'll be straddled by 2 non-porous layers, and then there'll be a porous layer. And it will either be a fossil aquifer or a regenerative aquifer.
Yeah, and that just means if it's continuously replenished or not.
I didn't get my question answered either, or asked.
Yeah, none of mine did either.
Yeah.
Really?
What was my question?
Was it a super chat or
just a regular question?
TRock had like limited time, so they wrapped it up. I mean, we could have argued for ages, quite frankly, because I was having fun with him. Yeah, he had to go, so that may have been the reason. Yeah. What was your question? Ask it here.
Oh, I just asked if it was for both of you guys. I asked if you could explain what soil was and how long it takes to form.
Well, soil is sediment mixed with biological matter, isn't it? And it doesn't take that long to form. It just
depends on how much soil you have.
Depends.
Well,
also depends on the organisms in the area. Worms speed up the process a ton.
Yeah.
Also, how the sediment is actually deposited, what sort of area it's actually in.
Like if you look at the Midwest in the U.S., it's there's just, I don't know, thousands of feet thick of soil layers in some places. It's ridiculous to think that didn't take a lot, years and years. But you can watch your sidewalk. I mean, if you don't clear the grass back from it, the earth will swallow it right up. People talk about, where the layers of dirt come from. It's like stuff dying.
That's not even getting into paleosols.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
I thought it was
still
as fascinating that the South Americans have sort of a bioactivated soil that was just incredible.
Yeah. Man, I still have some shirts stained with a paleosol from Wyoming.
Yeah.
It's nice, kind of.
Does they retain some of the pigment? Was it green or is it brown?
Blood red, actually.
Wow, that's so cool.
So they look like old blood stains on my shirt.
Who did you kill? Fossils.
Entire
It was actually the same
ecosystem.
formation where I found a dinosaur trackway.
That's cool. You found a dinosaur trackway? You're so lucky.
First day out in the field.
What kind of
Amazed
dinosaur?
Paluxia River didn't come up, to be honest with you, with all of the random things we were bouncing around.
Paluxy would have been fun.
Yeah.
But,
I can't believe they still think that's a footprint.
It was,
Like it's
just the Chugwater Formation.
It is a footprint, just not a human footprint.
Right.
Oh,
right.
that red is so gorgeous. It stains your clothes, though.
Yes, it does, especially if you sweat.
Oof,
Yeah.
that is striking, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah,
I would love to
I
go
like
visit
especially have it where my backpack straps were.
How far of a hike did you have from the main road?
That day it was only about a quarter mile, but
Yeah,
if you're not used to the altitude, it feels like 10 times longer.
No.
But this is the kind of thing that geologists do, everybody. They kind of look at the strata and then identify things that we can see. And sort of, so TRock was kind of at one point asking, how do we know that this part is the same as this part? And I was trying, I mean, might have explained badly, but I was trying to explain how we can match up the layers with different parts of the world kind of thing. And
it's really easy. Sorry, can I go really quick?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. So go ahead.
So what we do in geology when we look at layers like this is we go in really close, examine every single part of a layer, and find out what characteristics define it. Then we do the same for the layers above it and below it. Then you have a good snapshot of what that group of layers looks like all together, and it's super easy to spot all of them all over the horizon because they almost always occur in the same sequence.
Yeah, let me try to simplify this for anybody who doesn't want to get all technical about it. Like, I can look at this, and this is how the science works. I can look at this and I see the Morrison formation on there, right? So I know the way that science is going to work. So I'm going to make the prediction that since that's the Morrison formation, it's going to have Jurassic age fossils in it if we find fossils, and that would be the prediction we made, right? As a research team, and then we go dig down in there and see if we find something, and we see if it matches up with that prediction or not. That's how we decide what layers, right?
You're actually misconstruing slightly. What he's talking about is my area of expertise within stratigraphication. You are analyzing each of the layers mostly for its mineral content. That way you can actually get the relevance to where they sit within each other.
But not just minerals, but also like fossils, bed forms, so like ripples and waves.
Yeah, don't forget the structural part, you're striking depth and just your general, mapping of the area, your aeromag or whatever.
I can tell you, for example, the Chugwater there, it's pretty barren. It's mostly just a block of red dirt. Didn't work with Piper, Reardon, or Swift. But the Morrison, depending on what part of it you're working with, biggest thing is just these huge chert nodules you can find. Chert's a specific mineral. Don't really find them in any other layers, at least none that I saw.
We then take that information and then make the predictions of where we dig, rather than... But first we have to actually analyze each and every layer to get this area here has this mineral content, this structure, these fossils are found here. Then we find a similar structure over here on the other side of the continent. And that's how we make stratigraphic maps.
Mm-hmm.
With those stratigraphic...
Sorry, go ahead, Beamsy. I don't want to cut you off, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, that's when we have the stratigraphic maps. That's when we can start doing a lot more accurate seismological structural integrity. And that's how they actually get oil. That's why that's very, very important.
If you see how all these layers are slanted, accounting for that slant, you can measure how thick they are, And then you can use that data to create an entire underground map, so long as you have enough surface data. We did a lot of
With
reconstructions like that.
reasonable accuracy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it was like TRock just sort of said, well, I look at this and it looks like a thing. And it's like, why would you think that? Like, why would you just look at something and go, that's what it looks like?
I'm very convinced all he does is read creationist literature and parrot it. Like, I don't think he
Yeah,
has the
probably.
ability to rationalize it himself, hence those ridiculous MS Paint drawings.
That was weird. That was just weird. I gotta say, because he sort of said, "Oh, you brought up cartoon graphics," and it's like, well, no, it's a geographical diagram of what they've proven. Like, it's weird that you're using it anyway. But Burn Doggiest has got a question for Dr. Dino. How does it make sense that complex organisms came from chemical disorder and continue to gain complexity? I think this is tied to his law of entropy thing. So if you want to tie that in somewhere.
Sure, I can kind of try that. So life is messy. It is very, very, very messy, very, very random in a way. But just because you have randomness to start with doesn't mean you'll have randomness at the end of a selective process. Like, let's say, for example, I can have a bowl with a bunch of different sized sediments in it, fill it with water, and swirl it around. Then I pour that whole mixture through a sieve. Everything except some pebbles is going to fall through, so the pebbles are going to stay on top. There was a random assortment of sediments in there to start with, but the pebbles remained because of a selective process. Life does the same. And there's not really a trend towards complexity or simplicity in life. Things can go either way. It's just whatever's most advantageous for the organism in its environment. Granted, the general trend has been towards more complexity, but it can slide backwards too.
Sure. And I think the problem is that you're thinking of the law of entropy as things can't get more complicated, which is an error. The sort of second law of thermodynamics says that the entropy over a closed system always increases. So the total overall entropy. It doesn't mean that things can't get more complicated in one section. And the thing to remember is that Earth is not a closed system. There is a bit of give and take between Earth and the outside. So I don't know that what you're saying is true. Yeah.
Maybe
Also,
simplifying it. Oh, sorry.
Just if I may, to living proof. First off, don't call Hovind a doctor. He has not earned it. I've earned it more than he has, and I'm not a doctor either. Second, Hovind can go do a thing that I can't say on YouTube. Okay, he's
take a long walk off a short pier.
He's a horrible human being.
I think, and sort of the problems with Hovind is that he like TRock, take things on a small scale, like he was talking about. A concrete slab for a house, and trying to equate that to how the rocks behave on a system like the geological scale is kind of a real mistake. Hovind himself does it with this. In my little shake thing with water, all of the sediments sort of organize. And it's like, yeah, but we're not talking about a very small scale in a very confined system. You can't just apply that on a global scale. And this is the thing that they don't understand. He says he does a experiment where he gets water to form the Grand Canyon. I'll bet you anything he doesn't get the embedded meanders that the Grand Canyon does, where it sort of flips around almost 180 degrees. I bet you he doesn't get those. So
Horseshoe bend.
Horseshoe bends, thank you. But it is embedded meanders, I believe, is the technical term for it, where it's.
I was giving an example. Yeah, I was giving an example of one of them called Horseshoe Bend. That's the name of one.
Right. That's the name of it. Okay, I thought it was just a general name. But yeah, so stuff like the horseshoe bend in the Grand Canyon, there is no way that pressurized water will make that structure to create that. It has to be a river that has created a meander that has then flown for millions of years in order to create that. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. And maybe just to sort of address, I'm not sure if it was driven by something in the debate, but there was definitely something going on in chat where someone was asking if like all the canyons on Earth had formed, or they were saying it had all formed from the flood. Canyon formation is really easy as long as you have flowing water and time, and possibly one of the most important things, uplift. See, water does this weird thing when it flows downhill where it both erodes sediment and deposits it. And eventually, given enough time, that process will equalize. So it'll put stuff down as fast as it lifts stuff up. But then, when you get a canyon, you have uplift in the area. So the river starts to flow faster and faster and faster. So it carves out more and more and more until eventually it reaches a new state of equilibrium.
Dino, you're forgetting that like concrete, has like tensile strength, so that can't happen.
I don't give a shit about concrete.
Can someone please explain to me how he comes up with coming with tensile strength in a non-homogeneous material when tensile strength is only measured in homogeneous material?
No, but concrete.
I got him to admit.
Breaks. So
I got him to admit that the PSI for that that convection current over 1 inch was very low. So how does that mean that it's too high for the substance to bear? I don't understand that.
But the other thing is, with tensile strength, it is only measured within homogeneous material.
Right.
The Earth's crust is very much non-homogeneous, so do you see a problem with it?
I mean, just
I wish I'd known that.
If you could, Mark, just pull up the first image I sent earlier. Like, that's what a lot of the Earth looks like under the dirt. Like, a lot of it. It is a crazy
the Big Dry Mountain?
The one with the Chugwater Formation. The first link in the chat.
Yeah. I will do.
Fly in here.
Yeah, I didn't understand that, like, why he was trying to apply tensile strength to the crust. Like, and the whole idea to compare it to a chain or a house foundation it's just so weird, because it's not a house foundation, it's not a chain. It's so much thicker, like it's kilometers and kilometers thick.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, wouldn't that be an argument against Noah's flood doing this? Because you want to have all this force all at one time? Like,
yeah. Yeah, and it's something they just don't get. We have all these bent layers all over, and then we have tons of flat horizontal layers laying on top of that. Like, the Earth is a mess, and you cannot fit its creation into a single neat event. It has history.
I feel like I've got to get John Rapp's question, because apparently it was bumped, and I'm so sorry that happened to you, John, because I don't remember what Sea Science's Film Lab's question was, but if it was the one about the Lost Squadron, I that was awesome. I knew all about the Lost Squadron. It's such an easy answer, which was great. But the impossibility that the volume of biomass was created around 500-meter Dover chalk formations. It sounded like TRock wasn't admitting that it was marine fossils. Maybe I'm wrong.
Do I need to get my notes out in regards to coccoliths and coccolithophores and the formation of chalk?
Well, not necessarily, but just answer John Rapp's question. Like, maybe you can just say, why is it impossible for that not to form over one flood and a few thousand years?
Mostly to do with the purity of the chalk deposit, because you can actually analyze it and you can see that it's made up of about 96 to 98% of exclusively coccoliths, which are the shells of exclusively an organism called a coccolithopore, which is an algae that is covered with calcium carbonate shells. These have been alive since the early Cretaceous, and they're still alive today. We still get coccolithopore blooms. Mark, do you have that picture of the orbital picture of Alaska that I sent you?
Probably. I will check.
I remember having this similar conversation with Kent Hovind at one point. And yeah, what Beamsy's saying is what I was saying too. Like, you have a particular environment, a particular depositional environment that's going to create something like the White Cliffs of Dover. And Old Earth can give it all the time it needs to sit there in the warm environment and grow. You don't have, as a young Earth creationist, you don't have the ability to let things just sit and settle unless God's put his hands on the earth or something. So I don't see how this is a problem for me, and I see how it's a problem for you, you know?
I mean, you see God just splooged in the ocean and that formed the cliffs of Dover. There you go.
Right?
But the understanding of the way it works, as you can see by the picture that Mark brought up, that's a satellite image of a massive coccolithopore bloom. They would have all had to have died and settled in a non-tidal region, creating a white sedimentary mud. That white sedimentary mud cannot be in a tidal area because it will be contaminated. Then when you get a non-contaminated area, then you would have to get 500 meters of it just piled on top of each other, of at least a decent amount of purity, of constant blooms like that. And considering how small these organisms are, it takes at least 50 to 60,000 years for something like that to build up enough time.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. You got to go through the entire process, you know? The things need to be at the location, die, be buried, and continue that process, and then be compacted into the chalk.
No, they cannot be buried
all at the same time.
No, the problem is they can't be buried until it's built up enough to actually be compressed down to the.
Well, they're buried on top of themselves, you know.
Yes, but it would have to be probably 1, maybe 2 kilometers of just coccolithos with a mixture of fossils and only minor sediments mixed in. So that is the only way that something of enough purity to make something like the White Cliffs of Dover to occur.
Okay, so we've got a super chat. I'll skip to Tinfoil Fred. Could you put a link to the debate description? Yeah. Sorry, I did this. I actually set this thing up while I was doing questions. So, you know, I must admit I didn't put a lot in it. I do apologize. But yeah, let me handle that. But you do have another bit, and that is, wouldn't the formation of limestone cause an extreme amount of heat to be released? And I believe the answer is yes, which adds to the heat problem that already is there.
Is it exothermic or is it endothermic?
It's exothermic. It's the same thing of what you'd get with cement. If you've ever touched a large slab of cement, it gets hot. Now, picture that over such a larger area, and then it get really hot. And then accelerate it, it gets extremely hot.
Yeah, so there's a heat problem with the White Cliffs of Dover being formed in the first place. That's add to the radiometric decay, adding to all the other heat problems, and you know, it gets a bit of a problem. And not to mention the compression of the atmosphere when the waters rise over that quicker space. That adds to the heat as well. So all of this is a massive problem. And I mean, Donny recently came out claiming they solved the heat problem with their equations, and they haven't spoken about it since. Like it would be like the most significant scientific find of the century if they managed to do that.
Mark, did you see the video of them talking to Michael Ord on this?
No.
So you know who Michael Ord is, right?
No.
He's a yak. He's like a back when the VHS tapes how you got your yak. Original Kent Hovind. He's one of those guys, and they asked him I think it was Raw Matt asked him about the like water soaking up all the heat and all that jazz. And Michael Ord, who I think has a PhD, is like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I've never heard about this. So
Right.
it's like the heat problem and it being quote unquote solved is very exclusively to like SFT's little group, and everyone else in the Yet community realizes it's an issue.
Yeah,
it was very enlightening to me when that happened.
So far, I've only gotten up to the point in where McQueen claims that there are pathways for magma to come up from below to the surface, and they just went reversed, and that's where all the heat went. That's kind of where I got
that's
to.
That's not how any of this works.
No.
That's kind of where I got to, and I just went, I can't watch anymore.
No, that's... yeah, no, that doesn't...
Yeah, he got a tube to show that, he gave examples of how upwelling was bringing diamonds to the surface, and then...
No, that was the one before. This is another one they've come out with. That was the one before.
This is the one that I'm talking about. He was giving the examples of how, how magma brings up diamonds from the deep, and then if they reverse that, they can take heat down without taking into account pressure, thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, and compression rates. And
wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to put the original on here. Sorry, I'm doing what you asked, tinfoil. I don't want to upset the tinfoil.
All right. Then,
look, I don't know what it is about that community. They always come out with something new, and then sort of somebody comes out saying, hey, here's why it's wrong. And they'll either put out 5 videos debunking it, which doesn't debunk it. Like Erica will bring out something, and then Donny will do 5 things of why she's wrong, none of which answer the questions that she's got. Or they'll just quietly put it aside and pretend like they never came up with this thing in the first place. So,
right.
I mean, it's just sort of, yeah, I guess so. But, nobody outside of your little group actually believes you because they keep doing this.
Would you like me to explain to Burn Doggers what a heat problem actually is? And why
okay, Pat. Yeah, Pat, I do this because I find it fun. I don't know why I need a better reason. I find debating fun. It's, yeah, I mean, I had a blast in there. I'm pretty sure TRock didn't, but I did.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bit more serious reason for liking into this kind of thing.
We don't have a heat problem, Burn Doggiest, because if you factor in like the time scale of billions of years, the heat can dissipate. It's fine. Like that's perfectly fine. The heat problem is from the creationist side, who say it's sort of, 6,000 years or so. That's the problem.
Would you like me to bring up the mass I showed you in regards to just the friction caused by the movement of the viscous material against the crust?
Yeah, sure. If you want to share it. I'm happy to put it up if you want to.
Oh, no, it was actually literally from... had the same equations in the one that you brought up on the debate. It's actually from your viscous drag equations.
Well, and that was the thing. Like he said, I couldn't find equations on these forces. And it's like, of course I can. What are you talking about? Like, it's not like geologists are just out there like going, well, it looks like this is the case. Nobody write anything down. Like, what do you think they're doing out there?
We have so many equations for so much stuff.
Right. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a geologist. I wouldn't know to claim them off the top of my head. But, I know that they do, because that's what science is. You can't just say, hey, this force exists and then, job done, walk away. No, that's not how any of this works.
No, Burn Doggers, the heat problem is not just radioactive decay. You've also got to take into account friction. You've also got to take into account the cementing process that many of the minerals actually undergo. You've also got to take into account heat brought up from the lower mantle by volcanic eruptions. Mm-hmm. There are multiple things that actually raise the heat higher and higher and higher.
As well as meteorite impacts, as well as chemical reactions, as well. Like there's a ton of things you've got to account for.
Well, the the equation, which you would have shown for the viscous drag equation, you get the force by taking the velocity of the plate, which is about 5 centimeters a year. You multiply that by the viscosity of what it is traveling against. In the case of the mantle, it's about 10 to the power of 18 pascals, give or take some. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. Then you have to divide that by the thickness of the plate, which in meters is, you're talking oceanic crust is about 10 kilometers and continental crust is about 30 kilometers. So already you're dealing with big numbers there, and then you have to multiply it by the subductive zone of the plate itself, the area that's exposed onto the surface. And the average of that is around 5,000 kilometers. You end up with forces in excess of 1.5 to the power of 11 newtons per square meter. And then you can figure out how much heat can be taken from there by taking the coefficient of the average mineral within there. Like the high silica content is around 12.3, and I think with the low silica, you do it about 8.7, if I remember correctly, and water is 4.1. And using those, you can say, well, using just the force that we are encountering, how much temperature would it be increased in that area of water?
A lot.
With just changing the velocity, like TRock said, not changing anything else, you're talking about temperatures that are in about 10 million times hotter than the hottest part of the sun.
So you cannot increase the movement of those tectonic plates without doing that.
Yes.
Gotcha. I did have a question
quickly.
quickly.
Vaporize the Earth now?
4 or 5, I think. Are we including like the water vapor? Anyway, so question: if you take into account the continental shelves, how can you honestly say that all the continents were connected into one supercontinent, Pangea?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
easily.
the continental. So continental shelves are just where they are now. It doesn't mean to say that they've always been there. It doesn't mean to say that all the continents weren't into one supercontinent at one point. It's just the supercontinent broke apart, and sort of, the plates moved apart, causing lava to flow and creating sort of more undersea sort of foundation. So I'm not sure if you do understand how it works. I mean, one of you guys can probably explain it way better.
The easiest way to understand it would be continuation events like traps. We have remains of the Siberian traps all the way across the northern part of Russia, all the way through parts of England, and even all the way through to Canada. And
so what's a trap?
A trap is
Some say it's a slur.
It's usually a basalt incursion. So the particular ones I'm talking about are the remains of a flood basalt eruption.
Well, I mean, Beams, I think it could go even more simple and just go to what Wegener was bringing up. Mountain chains being connected, fossils stretching across, stuff like that works just as well for continental
mountains
drift.
Not so much, but the identification.
Well, the Appalachians and the whatever the hell the name is of the mountains up in like Finland and stuff like that, in Sweden. It's the same mountain.
Sorry, if I may, he is asking us to take into account the continental shelves, and if I may to that, most of the continental shelves are at most 200 miles off the coast of whatever continent they're from. Most of them are only a couple hundred feet underwater at the most. Like, it's kind of nuts. You go like maybe 100 feet deep for hundreds of miles and then just drops off like a mile. Anyway, they're small margins and they're very shallow.
I don't know why they would be
back in time before a lot of erosion occurred on the coasts. It's pretty easy to match the puzzle pieces up together.
But that's why I say using continuation events, like the best example are traps. or large igneous provinces, if you want the proper name.
I agree with you, but the question was specifically asking about the continental shelves.
Yeah, it was.
So I wanted to
agree.
address those specifically.
Yep.
Sure, and if we can measure, and we can, the rate at which things are spreading apart from one another, then I don't see why we can't logically sort of extrapolate backwards to see where all the continents sort of
That's exactly
merged.
what you do.
Yep.
And I mean, I would be pulling my hair if I had any, John Rat. Like, he didn't seem to understand that when it says it's being pushed or pulled, it wasn't like a person grabbing hold of one end of it and literally pushing or pulling it. Like, it was weird. It was like he didn't understand the conveyor mechanism of convection currents. That it was all distributed along the plate, not just like being pulled or being pushed at one end of it.
So, Mark, you
his-
talk to more
yeah.
yaks than I do nowadays. Is TRock alone in his confusion about plate tectonics, or is that a common thing among these yaks? Because I always thought everyone just kind of accepted it.
Well, I think that there's some confusion out there, especially in the young Earth creationist sort of place. But I think TRock particularly gets the wrong end of it. Like his diagram and model was so bewildering to sort of look at, where there was a plume where sort of on the C4 spreading side, and that was pushing these plates apart. Like, he didn't seem to realize that that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that it's the convection current going up that's pushing it from the end kind of thing. It was very, very odd. And I think his confusion is really weird. Because, when you I find it easy enough to understand when you look at a diagram and it has, the convection currents. And yeah, it was odd. It was odd.
The thing is, when you're actually looking at the way plates move, especially with oceanic bridges, they have bridge push, bridge slab pull, and convection force. Those are the three things that the plate is under of why it moves. It's not just one, it's three forces.
Yeah, that's something that really irritated me. Like, he was saying, oh, some scientists say this, some scientists say that. No, there's a spectrum of how much all these things affect the motion. We just disagree on how much of an effect they have. Like, he brought up the idea that this field wasn't unified as a problem. That's not a problem with something like this. It's, if anything, it's good.
The biggest issue is we're talking about things that are 10, 20, 30, 100 kilometers under the ground that we have very little understanding of because we cannot just observe what is happening. So we cannot really say which of the three forces is the biggest contributor to the movements of the plates.
Yeah. And he takes that uncertainty and
here
says,
it is.
Have no idea.
Here is the scientific evidence you've all been waiting for.
Okay, what the hell am I looking at?
So I think he's trying to say that
the
this
physics
part,
diagram.
This part here is the. Could you see my mouse? Can everyone see my mouse? It's probably not capturing it actually. Can I talk about this?
Yeah, I don't understand where his forces were for what he was trying to express there.
Just open it in MS Paint and draw over it. Well, they're not showing. Are you actually going to pull it into MS Paint?
Well, yeah. You asked me to. What are you talking about? I hate you so much.
Like, why is the green thing, whatever that's meant to be, actually putting force down?
I'm going to guess that's
separately.
A mountain.
Why is it doing that?
Yes,
it's like squeezing toothpaste, That's how plate tectonics works. Mountains squeeze the toothpaste out.
This looks like if my 4-year-old sister tried to teach a class about rocks.
Right.
But none of it makes any sense.
Yeah, so it's worse.
I'm trying to apply any of the knowledge that I've got. I'm just going, Okay, some of those forces don't make sense. So why is that green thing there? And
As I
And-
said, I can't tell
Okay.
if TRock is Mark was saying, I can't tell if TRock is purposefully ignorant
So-
or if he's just like
Right.
if that thing on the left is a mountain, what is that green thing on the right? And why is it exclusively creating a downward force?
No, that's a mountain, right?
Then
That's a
what's-
mountain because that's the what was he saying? The potential energy being pushed down. So that's the gravity on the mountain. Right? This is what he was saying. That's the sea floor for some reason that
What
he's
is that,
sort
like
of trying to
the
say.
seafloor mid-ocean ridge or something?
Yeah, so
I
he's
took
trying
that
to
as a
sort
hot
of
spot.
that's the mid-ocean ridge, and that's sort of the deep trenches kind of thing. I
that
don't
was
know
a
what
ridge?
these arrows are doing, but I think he was trying to say, hey, it's the plumes coming up here, right, that is pushing the plate this way, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one of the forces.
But
Well,
wait,
yeah,
is he
but it's
saying the
more that
continental
it
plate
should
is
be
subducting under the ocean plate?
something like that, right?
Yeah, and as well as the actual weight of the end part
Yes.
of the slab being subducted.
So
That's
what
the
he
three
doesn't
forces.
have, what he
Yeah,
doesn't have, and I'll
I
get
think he's
black
saying
here.
the continental plate is being subducted by the oceanic plate.
He doesn't
don't-
have the subduction zone that goes down here.
Well,
Like, he
I
doesn't
think he
have
has
it.
it. He just has it backwards. I think that's the trench
think?
over on the left.
That's the subduction zone,
Judging by the arrows, that's what I'm going to guess.
but that would mean that the force is going that way, and that wouldn't be heard going down, right? That would be being pushed up, like it would come up like that.
You mean this is a shitty diagram? Wow. Whoa, no way.
No way.
It's interpretive art. We're all seeing something different.
Yeah, and that
large
becomes the
Marianas Trench is where two oceanic plates have actually connected and gone down like a reverse mountain because they're about the same density. So they've pushed each other down until one of them wins and gets subducted, and then it folds. And
right. But the way he was talking was that the downward pressure of the mountain, the potential energy on a mountain is the gravitational pull, right? It's the mass of the mountain being pulled by gravity. The potential energy was forcing it down. That's why he's got these arrows here on the mountain.
I don't even know.
Yeah, neither do I.
That potential energy doesn't come into account at all for it. It's
Well, yeah, I'm aware. It's just weird.
because
weird.
mountains are part of the crust. It's just
Yes.
that green
That's why
thing
I
shouldn't
was
be there.
confused.
Does he think they're just like a separate mass of rock sitting on top of the crust?
So I got
know.
maybe an even more important question here. Why do you use two different types of arrows? Why did he like draw 60 arrows, then use like the arrow tool for the other ones?
I don't know.
And
I
also
mean,
his ocean on the left-hand side, that mid-ocean point, it doesn't even function like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I'm aware.
Hey, what's the scale on this supposed to be?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
I'm gonna assume this is like maybe the ring of fire on the left and the like Cascadias on the right, maybe
Oh, let me grab it.
like
What
the
do you
Pacific
mean? The ring
Ocean.
of
Would be my
fires?
guess.
I think it's a
left.
cross section of a dumpster fire, honestly.
That's fine.
Look at that.
But he was
two different
trying.
types of arrows.
Look, as far as I knew, he was trying to say that the pulling force that was like a tablecloth going over and dragging, because that's the article he was referencing, was caused by
From
mountains, which
encyclopedia.
is so ridiculous. Okay, so this is what I showed. I'll just try and switch to. Can I switch to this one? I'm not in Chrome. Need to be in Chrome. Oh, I am. Oh, yeah, because I've got the wrong window. So, There. So this is what I showed, right? So the slab pull that he was talking, it's not caused by the mountains pushing down kind of here. It's caused by the plate overhanging underneath the other plate. Like, it's just so weird.
Maybe.
So weird. Oh, look, this way lies madness. Hey, I don't think we can reconcile the two. But he said they were basically exactly the same, and I'm like, no, not even close. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So I don't fucking know. I give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at that and it doesn't really scale very well, whereas the one I showed gives a better scaling and shows more of the forces that are actually under the effect of it.
I mean, with that diagram, I think you can at least say like sizes were exaggerated for clarity.
Yeah,
and I can get that.
Yeah, that cartoon would be in any intro to geology textbook.
Yeah, it's a clear picture at least.
You actually wouldn't see much like that in anything past a early high school book in Australia.
Oh, okay. Well, settle down. I can understand it, all right, Beamsy. So settle down.
So Beamsy, I understand what you're saying. You start with the super simple ones, usually in like a big auditorium, in at least where I went to school, and they shift towards more complicated and accurate diagrams as time goes on, as they acclimate you into the material. This is all in very much intro courses, though, like first year.
I might have skipped the intros, but also that was nearly 11 years ago now.
Well, look, I am talking to creationists, and I want to give as simpler presentation as possible because
I
simple
think
is better.
I mean, I would prefer you use TRock's diagram, but if you really don't want to, the one you used, I'd say, is fine.
Look, I'd have to understand TRock's diagram before I actually use it for anything, and I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
But I'm not sure he understands it, is the thing.
No, I don't. Well, he kind of thinks he understands geology, and he really doesn't.
No,
sorry, he just doesn't.
Not at all. Everything he said was wrong, without exaggeration.
Yeah.
Well, some of the words are right.
No.
Used incorrectly.
That wasn't the point I was making. I just said some of the words are right.
You probably said hello. Yeah.
No, let's don't mean to him. I mean, I'm sure he got some basic elements right somewhere, but just this whole idea, and the whole idea that the water caused this instead of movement of convection currents in the mantle. Like, how do you even show that? Like, how do you get evidence for that?
Water is involved with it. It actually provides lubrication to allow for it to subject like that. But that's
sure, but not on the top of it. Yeah, no. That's not on the top of it.
Like if water currents were strong enough to move tectonic plates, Noah would have flown over the damn moon.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that one, Doc. That's a really good point. Yeah. It's like when the flat earthers say that, the reasons why the flight times are different is because the winds are 3 times as fast on certain jet streams. And it's like, that plane would be ripped to pieces. Like, how could unless you say, oh, the underwater tides, like the underwater force was really really strong, but on the top it was calm as a gentle.
That's not how water physics works.
I'm very aware.
This has been fun. I can go to bed. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for coming, Jorge. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you, mate. Really good to see
you. The other part is most commercial flights don't even fly up anywhere near the jet stream. They're usually about 5,000 feet lower than it.
Right.
But that's besides the point.
What's it? You said it's something's good. What's Pat dropping in the chat? As far as I know, Pat's just been insulting me in the chat. I don't know what's up with Pat. He's being
Was he
mean
being
again.
insulting or being truthful?
I have no idea.
No, he's just digging up dirt
what-
on people. That's what he does best.
Why? What? Who?
It's what he does. He digs up dirt.
Oh, he's an archaeologist. Yeah. I gotcha. Why are you all taking your collective time, talent, and expertise to discuss why people who are so willfully ignorant and proactively self-delusional as if they should be taken seriously? Look, Pat, I didn't debate the 7-day guy, all right? So I don't think you can, point fingers.
Oh yeah, I would like to address that actually.
What exactly?
Part of why I want to address young Earth creationists and science deniers of all stripes.
Yeah.
Is because I think we can attest that the last 4 years have been illuminating as to what science denial can do for the world's population. Like, one thing leads to another, and a young Earther becomes a vaccine denier.
Mm-hmm.
Living Proof, would you like me to explain that?
What are you talking about? What are we doing now?
His latest comment in the chat.
Massive ocean discovered towards Earth's core. Okay, well, let's fact check that, shall we? Sorry, Living Proof,
the liquid core?
Notice how it's hyphenated.
It is sort of in quotation marks. Hyphenated is when it has a sort of join bar between it, hyphen. I think you're meaning it's quotation.
My apologies. I'm just
no,
my brain is not.
Okay.
Starting
Look,
to melt.
my English is way better than my geology. I'll give you the hint right now. I'm just telling you right now. So
do it, Beamsy. Tear him a new one. It's funny.
Well, a good example is we can bring up that volcano on the border of China and North Korea, because that explains exactly what that is about. I can't remember the name of that mountain anymore. That was a fascinating understanding of it.
Oh, so it's called talking about ringwoodite.
Yes.
Hydrogous ringwoodite. It is a reservoir.
Yeah, okay, I'm reading up on it. Interesting. But how do you get all that water up to the surface without introducing a volcanic trap that would bury the planet in lava?
And it's stuff like that actually creates volcanoes like Pictou Mountain, because I just went and looked at it. If you really want to see some fascinating geology, have a look how that thing is formed.
What's the name of it?
Pictou Mountain. It's the one on the border of North Korea and China.
Oh, that looks neat.
Yeah, there's a couple of documentaries out there that actually go into quite detail of how it actually formed. It's because of the way that the plates are subducting under Japan, and it goes all the way to there, and because of the way the plates are actually bent, then bend again just below that point, releasing a lot of the water straight up to the surface, and that creates, the lava's formation up there.
And it, based on how it's worded, at least on Wikipedia, sounds like it was a stratovolcano that popped its top off.
It is a stratovolcano that keeps popping its top off, just the way that it works and where it is.
Mm.
Look how far it is from any of the fault lines, though, and then you can see what I mean. It's hundreds of kilometers from anything that it should be.
Huh. So is it a hot spot, or?
No. It's caused by the way the water is released when the plates actually curve and bend in the mantle.
Oh, So, water releasing, lowering the melting temperature of the rock, I'm guessing?
Causing it to flow up and then creating a semi-hot spot, not the same thing as the Yellowstone or the Hawaiian hotspots.
So like a false hotspot. That's interesting.
It's fascinating to go into. It's especially because it's caused by the release of water.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's really freaking cool.
Yeah, but even
that
though
sounds like a
there
crazy hypothetical someone would come up with in a class, but it actually exists.
It sort of isn't water. It's able to contain hydroxide atoms, basically. So 2 hydroxide atoms usually take the place of magnesium and 2 oxide atoms. So you have to submit it to incredible pressure in order for it to pressure and heat in order for it to release as water.
I mean, hydroxides will spontaneously form just water when allowed to mix.
Sure.
That's why like hydrogen peroxide just eventually just becomes straight up water after a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it says it's 1 to 3 times the world's oceans, which I'm not sure if that's enough to cover the entire planet.
No, you need about 2 to 3 times the world's ocean for full immersion.
Yeah.
So wait, wouldn't it be enough then? Or did I mishear something?
It may be. Well, it says 1 to 3, so if it's 1 times, then it's not. But I don't. Okay. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but we've always known there's been water underground. It's just like, why does it matter? What does it do to prove that there was a global flood? Like, there's so much evidence against it.
The thing is, it's not really water, and that's why it's not really an ocean either. It's chemical compounds that resemble water and can form water. That would be the better way of putting it. So,
yes, I guess that's what I was getting.
And like, correct me if I'm wrong, but in order for that to get up to the surface and become water, the magma would have to come up with it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just bury the world in lava. Right?
Presumably.
And it would just come up as water vapor. It wouldn't come up as water. So then you've got more heat to deal with.
Well, I mean, I guess the water can rain down after everything's been covered in lava. Everything starts again.
Look, Iron Horse, like I get that you might like Iron Horse. He is a nasty piece of work if you actually meet him in person. Or he can be a nasty piece of work. Like, he can be really, really horrible to people, especially in certain moods. He's not as nice a guy as he appears. He certainly hasn't been nice to me.
He seems to like his sideways comments from the one interaction I've had with him.
He's accused me of committing crimes. He's accused me of being a pedophile. He's accused me of all kinds of stuff simply because I've argued against Flat Earth. He's not a nice person. He's not.
Oh, full-on Mr. Batman.
Yes. Even worse than that, he was basically making up pictures and trying to spread them around Flat Earth servers and stuff. Like, he is
damn.
a nasty piece of work. Nasty. So yeah. I know that he might seem like really jovial and stuff. When you get to know it, he was banned off of the modern day debate server for just that reason. He would be absolutely disgustingly horrible to people. So he's not a nice guy at all.
He doesn't like that I call him a bogan.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's
is
more
he
of
not
a
by definition
hippie. Kind of, I guess. I mean, he sort of ticks a lot of the boxes. So,
sorry, do you Australians have degrees of redneck?
Oh yeah. You can say, "Hey, I'm slightly bogan. I'm wearing my Metallica shirt today," kind of thing. That's fine.
Hey, Metallica's a good band.
Yeah, thanks for talking with the heathens, living proof. Yeah, and I mean, we're talking a lot about geology, but the reasons why I want to bring everything else up was because there's so many reasons why the flood just doesn't work. I mean, he's not also calling into question the geology, he's also calling into question just our understanding of like Egyptology and Assyriology and, you know, even the study of Japanese cultures, the study of, you know, how we've put together everything. Like, it's just these.
Just flat up denying recorded history when it doesn't agree with them.
Yeah.
And why cannot we get the same sedimentation that we see using a flood model to create a similar thing in a flume chamber? That's what they exist for.
Mm-hmm. And
A flume chamber. What's exactly a flume chamber?
It's used to actually... brain's not working properly.
It's
That's
used to
great.
model stuff in geology, usually using water.
Yeah.
A measure flow rate in open channel flow applications.
Yeah, so like you can use it to like model canyons and or like dams or levees and see how much it would take to break them.
Okay, so and when we do that with sort of a flood sort of model done, it doesn't form the sedimentary layers that we see.
We end up with more models like the SCAD lens.
Have you seen Dr. Hoven's, and I'm using that loosely, Dr. Hoven's little thing with sediment in it? Because he says...
Let's just put some dye on different levels of strata and then see how they fall. Oh, look, the different dyes have created different levels. Oh, no, it's actually all one level. They're just different colors. You not going to say it.
Yeah.
Do
I
the same
think
thing
that
with pebbles, sand, and clays. You'll find a much different result.
Yes, just get a large jar, put in some pebbles, different sized sediments, pour in some water, shake it up, and let it sit for a day or two, and look at the way it settles.
Yep. If Noah's flood was true, we would see that everywhere on Earth. And we just don't.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem comes from they look at it and they say, well, it looks like what I've seen out there. Like, that's not how we're doing it. We're not looking at it and saying, hey, it looks like that. We're actually examining it and saying, is it like this? Let's get a better, you know, that's what I was saying about TRock. He just looks at things and says, well, it looks like this other thing. I'm going to take it as exactly the same.
Yeah.
Nobody in science is doing that. I'm sorry.
The thing is, sea science, when it comes to examining water rising above the land, do you know what tsunamis are? Because they're easily to see in geological records.
Yeah. We have modern day
so.
deposits from them that match stuff we find in the rock record.
All of that sediment moving, it's got to, right? Oh, Ultimate's come in to say bye. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we can see things like the tsunami that happened in the Philippines. We can see tsunamis that happened in Japan and see how that is laid down, and it looks identical to what we find.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Titan has a good point. Call him by his proper name. Inmate number 0645 2017.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's getting a new number if he goes back after his latest little...
Oh, well, I mean, I can't remember all of these numbers that he's constantly accruing. Yeah, and just, but the whole point is that creationists just look at one thing, look at another. If they look vaguely the same, then they're the same. And that's not how we evaluate whether things are the same. We don't just look at them and trust that. There's a number of tests that geologists go through to see if they are in fact the same thing.
The thing is, what they're trying to express with use the shake up the sediment in a jar trick. That's just one var, and we see many vars laid out like that. It's basically big, medium, small, big, medium, small, big, medium, small, big, medium, small, and they go on for hundreds of them. Then they're not just one or two.
mean,
Well, they're in
Yeah.
pairs, right? They're in pairs.
Not
Well,
necessarily. A lot of
Well, the
them.
ones that I was talking about were the Green River Varbs.
but most
They-
seasonal varves are in pairs, I believe.
They're
Yes.
either in pairs, triplicates, or quads. The most
Okay.
common are definitely pairs because you sometimes get different deposits during summer, winter, autumn. That's where the difference comes.
Right.
And
But that's why
like-
ice cores are the best by example of a varve because they go.
Hmm.
You could see definitive summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter.
well, like I sent you a message, Mark, towards the end. I was hoping you'd bring up Lake Suigetsu that we talked about a while ago. Just since that was a recent study that's still
What you send it
ongoing.
on?
Discord.
Oh,
The biggest
like,
problem with trying to break down their arguments is literally there's just so much information out there, and they say a 5-minute thing, and you need 3 hours to explain why they're wrong just a little bit.
Yeah, but like
Well,
with this lake, like we not only have the annual varves, not only are they still forming today, inside the varves we can see like pollen and spores corresponding to the different seasons, and we have carbon dating all throughout the record. Many samples have been sent to hundreds of different labs to help eliminate bias. Like
how many years does it show? Though?
52.8 thousand.
Yeah, so he was asking for millions of years, don't forget. So that wouldn't have helped me at the time.
52,000 still beats 6.
Well, the Green River's like 6 million.
It does go up to 6 million, but I think what he was poking at was that it wasn't still being deposited, I think.
Oh,
So I was trying to give an example that
Yeah,
it
gotcha.
was being deposited. And it goes deeper than 52 odd thousand years. The layers just become too tiny to distinguish. Also, Sea Science, the link is pinned at the top of the chat. Open your eyes, please.
But you're starting to understand why I said that the sheer amount of information we have, we can keep going through different areas of our geological understanding of different countries, and the amount of evidence just overwhelms anything that they can actually come out with.
so this
Is
is Lake
the Green River
Sigitsu?
Mark? Or
No, it's Lake Sigitsu.
oh, okay.
That's, I don't know, that's what came up. Oh, maybe it's not. No, it's
It's an
After
example
the
of
moon?
Permian
Okay.
varves.
which is
Which, I mean, that's cool to see.
They're absolutely beautifully formed.
Yeah, and really well preserved too.
Yeah, that's
all right. I thought it was the vibes that you're talking about.
Actually, I grew up in an area with a bunch of Ordovician aged cliffs. You can see varves going all the way up the cliff.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Based on my own personal observations, looks like it was a protected lagoon surrounded by a coral atoll.
let's not get into coral atolls and trying to get them to try and explain how they occur.
Oh, and coral growths of something like the Great Barrier Reef. Like, how did that form in 6,000 years? Is definitely one to bring up. Like, coral don't grow that fast.
Nope.
Then they'll bring up something like the stagthorn coral, which is one particular species of coral, and how fast that grows. But not all species of coral grow that fast. Let's compare that to
Right.
brain coral.
Yeah, great. This one species does. You know what we don't find in these formations? Staghorn coral.
That usually is what gets broken down and creates the obloit that you find on the on the structure itself.
Well, is there anything else that you guys want to bring up before I go and shut it down? I didn't want to go too late today because I know it is late for everybody, except me apparently. But yeah,
Do you want to drag Sea Science in because he wants to have a go at you?
Well, he's not there. I mean, I would put him in, but he's not there. I said everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome as long as they're respectful.
Apparently,
and
he
we
doesn't
let
know
each
how
other
to
talk.
click a link at the top of the chat, but he is in the chat.
That certainly sounds like a him problem. So I don't know what to tell you. Like I think maybe it's because I've got him blocked. Could that be the reason?
Possibly.
Probably.
See, Science. I've had him blocked for years, like a year or so. He's just not worth hearing from. But I said everyone was welcome, so
What
I
are
don't
your
think it's going to
upcoming
stop him from
debates,
joining.
Mark?
I think Bubble Dumb is probably worse than Sea Science, though.
Well, I've got him blocked too, so that's not sort of saying much. I have a debate with Kyle, the Mormon guy, on Modern Day Debate on Mormonism, which should be so much fun. I mean, it's Mormonism, which I've got to do a presentation for, but that's okay. It's in a couple of days, I think. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, I'll link that one. I will link that one because I can. So yeah, if you ever want to see a Mormon debate, which Carl's a bit of a funny one. I think that his I wanted to debate him on evolution, but this is just as good. This is just as good. So that should be really a lot of fun.
Did I hear something about an evolution debate when Donnie was closing out?
Yes, I've got one coming up. That's sort of towards the end of the month against Raw Matt. I don't know who Raw Matt is, but Donnie's been talking him up, so he better put on a good performance, I guess.
Imagine Hovind, but if he actually believed what he said.
Really? Wow. Okay, that's sad. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, if you want the documentary for what I was talking about in regards to that volcano, I put it into the private chat at the side. I think will be.
Yep.
You'll see what I mean. That it's absolutely a fascinating understanding of the geology of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I do have a bit of personal shilling to do. Really.
Yeah,
quick.
go, please.
So Beamsy and I are going to be reviewing a interesting creationist film on my channel this Monday, if you live in America, or Tuesday if you live in Australia. Which one of them did you want to tackle first, Beamsy? You sound like 5.
There's 4 of them, and it's part 1 to 4, and they're all AIG, and they're from the few minutes I watched, they're all painful.
Oh, I'd love to be there for that. I really would like to. You've come on and helped me out so much, Dr. Dean. I feel like I really want to be there.
You haven't done a poll this stream, Mark. You want to do a poll to see what the audience thinks we should do?
I don't have to do a poll. No, I'm not doing a poll. No. Get out of here. What are you talking about? What would I possibly poll?
All right, well, you don't have to, but our options are Mount St. Helens, the Great Ice Age.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. All right.
The Missoula Flood, or receding floodwaters.
Why don't you do it on yours?
That's what
I don't know how to set them up.
Is it answers in Genesis, or is it what is it?
It's the AIG flood explanations. It's their actual videos that they've put out.
The flood video. Should we watch first? I do like polls. What were the options?
They were Mount St. Helens.
Mount St. Helens. Yep.
The Great Ice Age.
Great Ice Age. Yep.
The Missoula Flood. That's 2 S's on Missoula.
Isn't it OULA? Missoula?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the receding floodwaters.
The receding hairline.
Marcus has received so much it's halfway down his back.
Damn right. There we go. Poll is up. So if you do want to, yeah, no, Laura, me too. I love a good squatch debate. Yeah, a good squatch. Yeah, everyone loves a good squatching.
Yeah, Sea Science is saying we evolved from Sasquatch.
Yeah, I don't think Beamsy's got a channel going. Do you, Beamsy? I don't think you've got.
I've stopped the YouTube. I've gotten away from that Cunthoven channel.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just taking too much of my time with when I was working on redoing the maps with where I was working, and I just want to get back into Twitch again. So it's.
Yep. No, that's fine. That's fine. Just if you do have any links, even if you want to maybe put your Twitch up, Beamsy, that's fine too, mate. Like anything I can do to help, buddy. That's
it's
not
all good.
a problem.
No,
but I'll put up my debate with Kyle. That's my debate with Kyle the Mormon.
Well, I think the easiest.
What do you say? They're all AIG options. What are you talking about? They're all AIG.
They're asking where's the FAIG option.
Oh, okay. No, gotcha. I thought you were saying where's the FE.
I mean, that would win.
With a K, not a C.
Would like us saying that over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I couldn't fit it on because YouTube polls are really limited. So yeah, I would have liked to. And yeah, so sorry, Sea Science. You know, write me an email about why I should unban you, like unblock you, and then I'll unblock you if I feel like you will actually treat me in a respectable way instead of how you have in the past. So if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm more than happy to read it and make a decision. So send me an email if you do want to be. I don't even know if you can. He's responding, to be honest with you, but yeah,
he can hear you.
I can't tell. Yeah, I've had him blocked since I was on Amy's because he was just being so sort of seriously horrible.
Didn't you have a debate he popped in, or like a Royal Rumble he popped into a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think that happened a couple of weeks ago. He did a debate against he was supposed to debate somebody on Amy's. I can't remember. It really was terrible though. He's got a tendency to shout over people and stuff like that. So I just, ended up blocking him. Don't want to hear from him. But if you want to be unblocked, send me an email. Really?
Oh,
really?
we're tied.
Oh, no, really?
He's been doing that about everyone's mom. I think he has
Really?
issues.
Yeah, no, my mum died, so that just shows the level of your character. So,
and even then, he would still disappoint her. Sorry,
yeah. It's okay. You can. I mean, she doesn't care. She's dead. I mean, what? But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Unless anyone's got anything else, I'm going to wrap it up. I do apologize. I sort of went through this debate, and I think I'm a bit more tired. That took a lot more brain cells that I'm usually used to, kind of thing.
It's
no, it doesn't seem.
The brain cells are trying to deal with TRock.
Yeah. No, it's sort of, all of the stuff that he said. I don't. Yeah, I guess that all I can do is point out he didn't actually show anything scientific for his side. I'm glad I'm happy with what I did though. I did have a lot of answers for him. I think my favorite part was when he asked for equations on the plate tectonics, and I knew that I could provide them. Like, they're online. It's not hard to find. I don't know why you would say something like that, considering how easy equations of all things are to find. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And I think I explained it quite well with my question to him in showing the difference in the amount of energy just changing one thing does.
Yeah. I think he didn't understand what you're actually referring to. Probably a bit more context probably would have been better.
Limited to 200 characters.
Yeah, I know. So it's really hard, but that's why I do like to debate, because you can get in there and sort of explain yourself, which I had fun. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I had a lot of fun today. I actually enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, and I hope I entertained, because that was interesting. And again, I'm never disappointed with the level of crazy that's going on in the sort of science field of the young Earth creationists. Like the amount of things that you would have to, that physics would have to be totally changed or flipped upside down, or something would have to happen. It's just incredible. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you coming on. I think we lost Bree and that, but that's okay. That's fine.
She's still looking in the chat. It's just that she.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. That's fine. Lurk away. I don't mind. It's great. But and thank you for everybody for joining me. Really appreciate you. Don't forget to be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. And be kind to me. I had a rough week. I did. It sort of was just a couple of sort of personal issues came up, and Lynn was a bit off and sick, so I was doing most of the work. So it's been pressure over the last week. So thank you so much, everybody. I feel so much better after talking with all of you. But yeah, anything else you guys want to add before we drop out?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely join you on Tuesday, because I know I've got aimbot on my Wednesday, but that's okay. I can put aside Tuesday, and I really want to be there.
It'll be 5 a.m. your time.
5 p.m. my time on Tuesday.
A.m.
A.m.
Oh dear.
And I've got the debate against what's his name, Kyle, on that day too. That's the 6th we're talking about, like Australian time, Monday the 5th.
Yeah,
Tuesday the 6th Australian time.
My time it will be Tuesday the 6th at 7. So at your time it will be 5.
I thought it was going to be 8 a.m. for you.
No,
hate you both.
You forgot that they're on daylight savings hours, so my time doesn't change.
Yeah. Oh well, crap.
I'm not on daylight savings time.
No, GMT is.
Oh, yeah, it is. Oh,
that's why it's 14 hours difference. That would be the easy way of doing it.
That's what I did. I tried to do 6 p.m. my time, 8 a.m. your time.
Okay, what time zone are you in?
I'm CST.
It'd be CDT actually at the moment.
I don't know. Middle America.
Yeah, it's CDT for you. Trust me on this. I know for what I talk of. And we're on New South Wales, aren't you?
No, I'm in Queensland.
You're in Queensland? Motherfucker. All right. Why did I think you're in? Great, that's right. So what is it? What time is it your time, Doc?
6 p.m.
6 p.m., which is 1800. Yeah, that's actually 7 o'clock my time, and it's 9 in Brisbane, 9 a.m.
Oh, so I went the wrong way.
Yep, sure did.
So it's 13 at the moment rather than 14.
So math failed successfully?
Yeah, so you're 15 hours ahead, Beamsy. You're in UTC plus 10, and Central is UTC minus 5 at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I'm always at 10 because we don't have daylight savings at all. I just keep forgetting. Were they on -3 or were they on -5? Because it changes a year.
-5.
Yeah.
-5.
Sorry, John Rapp. I just live here. I didn't pick the time.
Oh, look! If you work in like I used to work in a corporation that was sort of multinational kind of thing, and once you start to work in a corporation as a multinational, you just get a time zone calculator and have it set up for what you want to do, because it's just too hard. It's too freaking hard.
I'm actually usually better than it.
You know what? I'm
one
kind
of
of
those weeks.
envious of China that just has one time zone, even though they cover like 5 time zones worth. They just go, no, we're having one and one only. It's just, you got to appreciate that. You know, it's like, okay, no, I can see that. You know, make it easier for yourself. I get you. Well, I might drop in at 7 then and see if I can be there at the start. But I do have that debate on that day. But I might
probably wind up being like 2 or 3 hours, honestly, because we'll probably have to pause and talk a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll see how long this debate goes, but I've got that scheduled first. I'm so sorry, but I'll drop in at the start, because that's at 8 o'clock, so I can at least drop in for like an hour, half an hour or so or something, and say hello. So I might do that.
It is AIG, so we are going to stop a lot.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can't. I really would like to make that. I just can't. That's all.
You're not going to believe this. We have 2 ties in the poll right now. 2 answers at 31% and 2 at 19%.
You know what? I bet Titan has done it like that somehow. He set it up with sock account, so I can't get a winner. He ruins every poll I have, I swear.
Here, Beamsy, do you want to flip? You want me to flip a coin, see if it's Ice Age or Floodwaters?
We'll just go 1 through 4. It would just be easier to do it that way, because I know it's going to get dumber as we go through.
So start at St. Helens?
Yeah, because I know it's just going to get dumber as we go
Well,
through.
then why don't do the poll? No, you've got to do Ice Age or
polls?
Floodwaters. The people have spoken. The people have spoken. Do
the
Ice
thing
Age,
is-
then go to Mount St. Helens.
Oh, Ice Age.
There
is
you
edging
go.
out.
We've got a winner. End poll. Cut it off. It's done.
The thing is, the
Whoever
first
did
2
that
can be done.
vote-
Yeah. The problem is the Ice Age can be done by itself, and same with Mount St. Helens, but the receiving floodwaters and Missoula flood would have to be done together, because both of those sort of have the same sort of evidence in regards to how much bull it is.
But at the same time, couldn't you tie Ice Age and Missoula in together?
They are tied together for the event actually happening, but the evidence on what they're trying to express is linked within the receding floodwaters and the Missoula floods.
Well, it seems like my poll has been completely useless, like most of my polls, to be honest with you. Let's not pretend that my polls have any significant impact on the world whatsoever. Awesome. Anyway, I'm going to go before this just gets too crazy. But thank you so much, everybody. Take care and lots of love wherever you are. See you later.